My goodness. Welcome back to the Southeast Michigan podcast. It has been a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a minute. Sometimes I tell you life gets in the way, super busy with kids and extra school curricular activities. But last Thursday, it was like a day or two after the Ohio State episode drop. Or maybe it was the Maryland Penn State one, or maybe it was the Oregon Maryland one? I don't know. Between that one and the Ohio State game, whatever, I got pretty sick. I'm pretty sure it was COVID. Um, at one point, I'm like, I'm not even gonna test because I'm just getting my ass kicked, and it wasn't until really today where I kind of felt like myself. I'm probably humming right now at like 85%, but it was rough. It was a bad one. I've had COVID before, and this one was this one smacked my ass a little bit harder than the first time. Give me one second. I'm gonna turn on this other lamp real quick. All right. So yeah, we are at the end of the road here. We are at the Michigan preview. We've done every other Big Ten team, and we've reached the grand finale, grand poobah. All right. We started back in first week of July. And we whittled it down. We did 2 teams per episode till last week when we previewed Ohio State. And now we are looking at the Michigan Wolverines. So, just like all the other episodes, we'll do the same formula. We'll talk about offseason headlines, some news and notes stuff. We'll get into the key losses, key additions. We'll go game by game breakdown of the season. Um, just kind of like how we did every other team. I thought about maybe doing a more in depth episode previewing the year, but I don't see the point. I'm not going to do like position groups and all that stuff or whatever. That's just not me. We could, but one, we just don't have enough time. Next week is the game. This weekend's week 0. Got a lot of fancy football stuff going on, but um, you know, this week we got enough time for this episode here. We'll preview Fresno State at some point, probably Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but it's August 22nd of this recording. It's Thursday going into Friday. So let's talk about the Michigan Wolverines, okay? Also, too, including today, you have like 3 days to get into the jersey giveaway as well. I should probably mention that again. So, again, if you want a shot at winning a JJ McCarthy autographed jersey or Blake Corum autographed jersey, again, it's very simple steps. All you got to do is follow the show Twitter account and then go onto the YouTube channel and comment on any one of the videos, your Twitter handle name, and all the information and the links will be in the description box, information box, whatever you want to call it, and it'll take you right there. And those are the only 2 steps you got to do. You'll be entered. And then at some point here on the 25th, which will be this Sunday, I'll randomly select 2 different winners and we'll find these jerseys at home. And I guess I could also mention that, of course, the Southeast Michigan podcast is free and available wherever you watch or listen. Please rate the show if you could be so kind, and head over to YouTube, click the bell for notifications, and subscribe there, please. All right, now let's get into the Michigan Wolverines. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Michigan Wolverines, your 2023 national champions. 15-0, undefeated, 9-0 in the Big Ten play. First Big Ten team and the only Big Ten team to go 15-0 and bring home the trophy. Only Big Ten, yep, there you go. It's my notes. I'm just repeating myself. Only Big Ten team to finish 15-0. There you go. Wherever you stand on the sign stealing situation, to me, it is nothing short of amazing that they went out and still took care of business with all the off-field distractions. So, as the players, they told by the media and other fans that that they were only winning because of that, and they lose their head coach for the most crucial part of their schedule down the back end, and they go out and whether it was running the ball 30 straight times against Penn State or looking fugly beating Iowa in the Big Ten championship. They went out and they won the Big Ten for a third year in a row. They beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl, and then they beat Washington in Houston for the national championship. So picturesque, poetic type year, and repeated it many times. But last year was the last traditional looking season that Michigan could potentially have, and that was, of course, winning the Rose Bowl and having a traditional, somewhat looking conference and winning the Natty. So, um, going here into 2024, same team but different. Pretty much have the same culture foundations that were laid back in 2021, becoming more of a player-driven team, and senior leaders of that 2021 team kind of putting their hands on the program, and Jim Harbaugh kind of letting the reins be sprinkled out rather than the direction they were going. Okay, a little bit more emphasis on the Ohio State game. They had the Ohio State drill, Georgia drill, and even with some of the coaches, a lot of the coaches leaving, um, you have that same system somewhat in place. So again, same team but different. You got of course, you got another defensive coordinator coming in, Wink Martindale. Kurt Campbell and Grant Newsome got promotions. Newsome coaching the offensive line, Campbell up to the offensive coordinator. Of course, offseason drama. Sharon Moore hired defensive line coach Greg Scruggs from Wisconsin on March 7th. March 21st, he resigned. 5 days prior, was arrested for OWI. So yeah, resigned after 5 days prior. That's a word salad there. Told the officer who found him with his vehicle at an intersection with his hazard lights on. Scruggs said he had only 2 drinks and was just tired from working late. At the station, Scruggs blew the double legal limit. So you had, of course, that problem. You got Jim Harbaugh poaching the coaching staff. Meanwhile, Sherrone Moore is trying to land his guys, and they can't even stay off of the off the radar via police. Then in April, Denard Robinson crashed his vehicle around 3 a.m. and was also arrested for OWI. Officers encountered Denard's vehicle with him asleep at the wheel, attempting to wake him up by tapping on the car. When Robinson came to, he seemed disoriented and struggled to answer basic questions. At one point, Denard denied being responsible for crashing the car. The officer noted that he has significant damage and knocked the pole down. Robinson replied that he literally just parked. The officer responded, "You called this parking?" After failing sobriety tests and refusing a breathalyzer, he was taken into custody, and fell asleep in the cell. So these incidents, of course, very close to each other, and so spring was kind of off to kind of a rocky road start. And we mentioned it in the episodes at that point where it's like, guys, can we just like not have like self-inflicting wounds? It's killing the momentum here. This is the time of the year where Dusty May's in at head coach and he's putting together a coaching staff, hitting the transfer portal, got a lot of momentum there. Hockey was coming off a Frozen Four run, and so it's like football just could not get out of its own way. And when you had the Greg Scruggs scene, it's like, man, he was here for a little less than a month, and then before we could really get to know him, he's gone. And then you of course have Denard Robinson, and he was kind of a face of the franchise type player, and kind of welcomed back into the program with open arms as being kind of in that recruiting department. And so again, when you got the portal happening and this happening, it was really a bad look. But Sherrone Moore ironed that out, and they got their guys. And after Greg Scruggs was resigned, they hastily went out and got defensive line coach Lou Esposito. Believe he was from Kentucky. Lamar Morgan was brought in as defensive back coach, so Steve Klingscale follows Jim to the LA Chargers. Tony Alford was hired from Ohio State to be the running back coach, and he hasn't really, I say, landed like the number one overall or number two overall running back, in the next class. But they do have two or three really solid commits here for the future classes. So, I mean, you can't be mad about that at all. Brian Jean Mary, he's back for his second run with Michigan. He's going to be the linebackers coach, I believe. This time he's coming back from Tennessee. He was I think he was a volunteer at the, last season. And even with the first 5 games at home, this upcoming year, the back half of the schedule will be a daunting task. Okay, the toughest schedule that Michigan is probably going to be playing up till in its history this year, and that's going to be college football for you in in the future. All right, let's get into their key losses. We'll do their key losses. We'll get into their key additions, and then we'll take a break. And then when we come back, we'll get through that schedule. I guess before we get into the key losses, though, Michigan um, did announce its captains for the season. So we have Rod Moore, Makari Page, Donovan Edwards, and Max Bredesen. And I want to say already forget who the alternates were. I really should have wrote that down, but I didn't. Right here. Isaiah Holt tweeted this early this morning. Kalum Mullings and Josiah Storr will be the alternate captains for Michigan. So of course, um, Rod Moore's going to be on the sidelines for the beginning portion of the season, recovering from that ACL. So as much as you want to see Rod back on the field making plays, you also want him to take care of himself and get healthy for the NFL. So I'd be, I'm not losing any sleep about his return on like back in the starting rotation. I just don't see it at all. But Godspeed for that recovery. Get ready for Sundays. All right. Anyways, let's get into the key losses, shall we? So they're pretty obvious, but we're going to mention them. J.J. McCarthy, 10th overall to the Minnesota Vikings, and he's going to be out for his rookie year, dealing with meniscus knee surgery. So it's nothing like career threatening or stuff like something like that. It's not like an ACL tear or something, but they did go in and cleaned out the knee, and so it's going to be the Sam Darnold show in Minnesota, which sucks because JJ McCarthy, looked pretty well in his first preseason game against the Raiders. He did throw a pick, but he did throw a couple dimes, and he had some solid, uh, scrambles. There was a play that broke down. He ran up the middle, got a first down, so he looked pretty good outside of that INT, but it's unfortunate. But he'll heal up. He'll be back stronger and ready to go come 2025. Blake Corum, third round of the Rams. Cornelius Johnson, 7th round of the Chargers. Roman Wilson, 3rd round of the Steelers. I think he got banged up too in training camp. Hopefully he'll be ready to go for the year. Steelers have a knack for finding gem wide receivers in the draft. So hopefully Roman Wilson's that next guy. Junior Colson, 3rd round of the LA Chargers. Mikey Sanderson, 2nd round of the Washington Commanders. Michael Barrett, 7th round of the Carolina Panthers. And I know he was drafted by the Panthers. Something's telling me he's not on that team anymore. I don't know. I could be wrong. Chris Jenkins, 2nd round of the Cincinnati Bengals. Safety Keon Sabb transfers to Alabama. That was one that initially kind of hurt. And, some of the fan base is like, all right, bon voyage, thank you, congrats, and good luck, right? And people like me were, probably sitting and sulking for longer than we should, because, depth is everything from now on and indefinitely for college football with the NFL type seasons. And so this one stung. But I think in the long run, Michigan could be better off. But, cheers to Keon Sabb, and thank you for making plays when you did for that Natty title run and this whole program 180. Next, we got defensive back DJ Walder leaving for Kentucky. Then this is a kid who had a real shot to be a key factor this year as well. The DB room is kind of wide open. It sounds like Jair Hill is going to be playing across Will Johnson, but DJ Waller made a few plays in the spring game, and he entered the portal shortly after that spring game, and so that was another one where it was kind of eyebrow raiser. But good luck and kudos to him. Wide receiver Carmelo English goes to West Georgia, another head scratcher. Wide receiver Davis Clemens is off to Oregon State, the Pac-2. Offensive lineman Amir Herring leaves for Kansas, and then defensive back Cameron Calhoun transfers to Utah. Again, some people like myself will be like, "Wow, really? That's just kind of odd that they left." And other people are like, "The writing was on the wall," type of. I'm like, I'm not so sure. I feel like every one of those guys had an opportunity to compete for a starting spot. But it is what it is. Around to greener pastures in their minds. So, good luck to them. I don't think there was any really ill will. There wasn't any drama that we seen. But good luck to those fellas. All right, let's get into key additions. And like I said, after key additions, we'll take a break and get back into the schedule. So key additions: safety Wesley Walker from Louisville, formerly of Tennessee. Almost 50 games of experience in 5 seasons prior. So going to be a 6-year senior, and Wesley Walker going to be one of those guys that's going to be with Bakari Page, Quinn Johnson, those type dudes out there making an impact. And you know I know Josh Wallace was more of a corner, but like if Wesley Walker here and another guy here we'll talk about here in a second, Amir Hall, if they can just give us Josh Wallace level type play, that's going to be huge for that secondary and that DB room. It truly is, and 50 games of experience. I don't think he's a day one draft pick, right? But he's going to be a solid piece in this whole grand scheme. Wide receiver C.J. Charleston from Youngstown State comes in. Another key piece that we'll see is going to be safety Jaden Mangum from MSU. According to PFF, Mangum scored a 69.6 overall and an 82.7 run grade while a 64.8 in coverage. Had 4 interceptions as a Spartan last year. So MSU undoubtedly has secondary issues over the last 3-4 years, but Mangum was probably the lone bright spot in that department, and quite frankly, with better coaching, I think could be a solid Wolverine. And again, we got a lot of opportunity for someone to step up. And again, we're going to need everybody, all bodies on deck, because it's going to be a long year. And, the defense is going to be probably, you're going to have your tweaks there throughout the course of the year. So again, as I mentioned a second ago, Amir Hall, he's coming in from Albany, FCS All-American with 63 tackles and 5 interceptions. So playing in the FCS, don't get a lot of eyeballs on you. Probably playing a lot of weekday games on ESPN at the Ocho. Not gonna catch too many Albany games, but again, if this guy just gets to a Josh Wallace production level, then we're set. We're gonna be good, and this defense is gonna be just as good as last year, if not better. Wide receiver Amarian Walker coming back from Ole Miss. Safety Ricky Johnson from UNLV, 4 career picks and 7 pass breakups last year. Offensive lineman Josh Priebe from Northwestern, 28 career starts. So again, got great game experience. Josh Priebe is a Michigan State native, the state of Michigan, that is. And so grew up kind of in the shadows of Ann Arbor, so good to have him with the Maize and Blue. And this was like one of the first transfers that Michigan got out of the portal. Him and the next guy we're going to talk about here is Jayshawn Barham, in from Maryland. 95 total tackles, 7 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 1 interception in 2 years at College Park. So just an absolute beast, getting a ton of praise, from spring ball to fall camp. So I expect a lot from Barham. I think he's going to be, was he 0 I think his jersey number is gonna be 0, or is it 10? I think somebody said that his number he's down in the Devin Bush number, so I think it's 10. Either way, like I just think this defense is going to. They have a lot to prove, but I feel like the ceiling could be could be last year's defense caliber. I think it's going to be. I mean, I don't know the numbers like dead on right now, but between last year and 2016, those two team defenses or whatever, very elite. And if you can just get to one of those levels, either one, I think Michigan will be in a good spot. Last addition here before we get into the schedule. Kicker Dominic Zavada from Arkansas State. In 2 years, he's 71 of 72 on extra points and 34 of 40 in field goals with an 85%. If you look at it, he had a better freshman year technically than last year as a sophomore. Uh, Last year, I think he was at like a 78 or 77% field goal, so slightly down from freshman year. But this guy is a Lou Groza watch list guy. So you go from Jake Moody to James Turner last year to Dominic Zavada, so he's going to be pushing and competing with um, the, uh, the youngster Adam Samaha for place. Excuse me, for place kicker. Excuse me, just had dinner. All right, when we come back, we are going to hit up our 2024 schedule. Don't go nowhere. When our community wins with us, we want to ensure you maximize your ROI. Line shopping for the best odds matters, and that is why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books. Thankfully, there's never been a better time to get signed up, and we're here to connect you with the best promotions industry wide. Using our link, signupexpert.com/southeast, you can get access to all the sports books in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique features. Most importantly, this page automatically connects you to the top promotions of each book, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. If you want to take advantage of these benefits and support our brand, please sign up for your next sportsbook at signupexpert.com/southeast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back for the Michigan Wolverines 2024 schedule. Man, I can't believe how time flies, right? Like I said, we started out back in July talking Purdue and like UCLA, and it's just been a ride. And this is the second year doing the podcast, right? This is the second season, second time doing the Big Ten season preview, and it's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to learn about other teams, and quite frankly, it kind of just gets that mindset of where your team's at and how they're going to stack up against these other programs and stuff. And it's going to be college football is definitely going to look a lot different, right? That's obvious. And like I said, that's the reason why I'm thankful for how 2023 played out with the Natty, because this was just a unique year. And coming into this season, we're going to be seeing traditional Pac-12, Pac-10 teams, and teams that we're lucky enough to see in a bowl game. And now they're going to be making their trips to Ann Arbor and alike. So let's get the cameras going here. Let's flip you around to the screen here. So if you're watching, you of course will look at the schedule as we go through it, and we will hit up this schedule. Okay. Let's see here. Scroll down a little bit, just a tad. How does that look on here? Too much. All right. How about there? Okay, that's back. All right. So the 2024 schedule is set at over under 8.5 wins via FanDuel. Okay. I will be on the socials posting my final standings of how everything should be shaken out, probably tonight or tomorrow morning. So you'll get to see my my set in stone final predictions and stuff. So 8.5 wins. Let's see if Michigan will hit the over on that. Let's see if they can get to at least 9. Okay. All right. Fresno State next Saturday under the lights. I believe that's going to be a W. And of course, next week we'll actually get into more, in-depth coverage of that and stuff like that. We'll look at the Bulldogs and, they got a lot of hype coming into this season. Not like natty hype, but hype enough to where they're not going to be an easy put out. And so Michigan is going to have to come out on week 1 and play their damnness and get out of there healthy to take on the next one on their schedule, which is Texas. Okay. We have a maze out for this game against the Longhorns, noon high. For a while, I was kind of leaning towards the Longhorns in this one. So when this game kind of got announced, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably going to lean Quinn Ewers. I think it's going to be close. Michigan's quarterback situation up in the air. Defense, a lot of question marks. But, as we went through spring ball, we went through the summer, we went into this fall camp here, my mind started to change a little bit. Okay, unfortunately for the Longhorns, they lost their running back C.J. Baxter for the year to injury, and then they also lost their second string running back. I can't even remember his name. um, so Texas loses a ton in the NFL, but they reloaded in their spots via portal. They have 4 returning starters on the offensive line. So the trench battle is going to be something to keep an eye on, with Michigan's D line and their offensive line. With this being a game 2 of the season and probably the healthiest these teams will be, is kind of why I'm leaning Michigan. At home and with the defense and the crowd behind it, I also think Texas rotating a new defensive line, it will kind of play in Michigan's favor because that's one of the spots the Longhorns are retooling at. But again, they are losing their first and second string running back, and coming into a hostile environment. Like I said, if this game was played probably late October, maybe even early November, I probably would have a different opinion or a different gut feeling. But again, game 2, Michigan should be at its healthiest all year. Um, in good weather, I just think that Michigan can win this close. By no means do I think Michigan's going to win this by like 2 possessions, 3 possessions. But, by field goal, sure, maybe by 6 points. I don't know. But I think that Michigan can pull this dub out, and it's not out of the question that they can't. So, yeah, we'll have to just see. All right, next one is homecoming for Arkansas State. So really, for the first 5 games, Michigan is not leaving Ann Arbor. This one is going to be a noon kickoff as well. So you got Under Lights versus Fresno, Texas, and Arkansas State both at noon high. This one is on Big Ten Network. So yeah, let's give them the dub there. Now, next, USC. Michigan's first ever stripe out. Okay, the Trojans got a new quarterback. I believe they just named. I think just Lincoln Riley just actually named him Miller Moss. And Michigan's defense could feast. Okay, even with the new defensive coordinator D'Anton Lynn coming in to revamp the Trojans, I still think Michigan can ground and pound. It's not going to be an overnight fix. It's going to be a season long retool and remake up for Lynn and the Trojans. So I think, again, facing this team early, I think Michigan can take advantage. And if you missed that USC preview, let's scroll up here real quick to the top. Oh my goodness, there's just so many notes. I want to make this note real fast because when I made it when we previewed USC, it was like, wow, really? It's really like that. Hold on. All right, I scrolled too fast on my computer's not responding. Control Alt Delete. Come on. Come on. Oh, goodness sakes. All right, anyways. Let's while my Microsoft Word is trying to figure itself out. Okay, never mind. There we go. All right, so Lincoln Riley has coached 3 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. All 3 of them went number 1 overall in the draft. Okay, so you had Kyler Murray, you had Baker Mayfield, and now you have um, Caleb Williams, Jesus, and now you potentially have Miller Moss. He beat out Jaden Maivia, which was a transfer. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention right there. It's crazy that 3 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks on those 2 all went overall in the draft. Thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's get into Minnesota. So real quick, Little Brown Jug staying in Ann Arbor. They travel then to Seattle, and a lot of people are kind of trying to find trying to get in too deep uh, of a mindset and on finding out where the L's are hidden. You know, they're trying not to find the obvious ones. And one of the obvious ones, um, or one of the not so obvious ones that they're pointing out is this Seattle trip here to Washington. Okay, now whoever the Michigan quarterback is at this point is going to have to play its A game regardless. The Wolverines are going to have a tough one here if the offense isn't clicking. But Washington is replenishing like the whole program. Okay, right? The new coaching staff, their whole offensive line's gone. Michael Penix is gone. Their wide receiver room's gone. They've lost a handful of guys into the portal. They don't have Dylan Johnson at running back anymore. You know, sure, they have a few spots on defense, sure, but man, Trice is gone. Like they have so much to fix, and Jed Fish did go on the portal to uh, to plug the gaps, so to speak. But man, that team is they're like I said, they're going to be a tough out, but they are redoing a lot of stuff, and I think that because this is on the road, because it's you know what Washington is historically, I think people are just trying to go out of their way to find something that's the edgy take. I just don't see them losing at Washington. And like I said, I could be wrong. Michigan's quarterback play, Alex Orji, whoever it is, they're gonna have to play their best. But you know, I'm not looking for the W here. I just don't see it. Um, they follow that up for a second road game in a row in Champaign. They're going to go play at Illinois. This is a game that I'm going to be at personally. Last year, personally, for me, it was Happy Valley, Penn State. This one's going to be in Illinois. Illinois will be donning a unique uniform for this specific matchup. So if you haven't seen it, go on the Fighting Illini's Twitter account. They kind of got like a leather helmet thing going on, and like an old like pre-World War II like style jersey with like the pads and everything like that, but of course it's just kind of stitched in. Looks really really sweet, but it's the rededication game for when the Fighting Illini defeated the Wolverines back in like the 1920s. So it's just all this hubbub for just this game specifically. Illinois gonna have a lot of problems themselves this year. And of course, I'm giving the Wolverines a W here. So right now we're sitting undefeated. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're at 7-0 for the Wolverines. Where are they going to stumble? Not quite yet. Okay, they then go back home for a Michigan State game. Now, this Michigan State game, of course, always around the Halloween era or area, just I think pretty much 5 days from Illinois, from Halloween. Paul Bunyan Trophy is going to stay in Ann Arbor again, okay, for at least one more year. The This will be, of course, a Spartan circled game, right? I expect this to be hard fought and potentially anyone's till maybe the fourth quarter. Look out for MSU in 2025. So if you've been following me through the Big Ten season previews, Michigan State is one of these teams where uh, I'm looking for them in the rearview mirror, but not this year. I'm looking at them in 2025. Same thing with Nebraska. There's a lot of optimism in Lincoln too, and rightfully so. But for me, uh, no, by no means you're going to take these guys lightly, but I think the splash and the noise will be made next year. All right, this is where we get into uh, the meat and potatoes of the schedule. Okay, we got 4 games left. I got Michigan sitting here at 8-0. Okay, I got Michigan sitting here at 8-0. Where is that first L? And they are coming up to Oregon. Okay, Oregon Ducks coming to Ann Arbor. Michigan could have a loss, maybe 2 by this point. Pains me to not see this team avenge the 2007 loss in a way, but I think the Ducks are absolutely humming right now. But remember, this team lost 2 games a season ago on the big stage, both times to the Huskies, that being the Oregon Ducks. I have Michigan losing this game, okay? Again, this pains me a lot. I want to see them to take back a game that happened 13 years ago in the big house where Dennis Dixon and Jonathan Stewart and then just throttled Lloyd Carr in Michigan and everybody after the debacle the week prior versus App State. Okay, I really do. Like I said, they could have 2 losses up to this point. They could have lost to USC. They could have lost to Washington. Could have lost to Texas. Uh, any of those 3 games, you take 2 losses there. But again, I think we're going to come into this next week's game versus Indiana, 8-1. Okay. Um, we'll see how Oregon does. We'll see if Dan Lanning's for real. Again, this program is on that hot streak right now. Recruiting, hype, all that stuff, right? They got all the offseason accolades. So we'll find out if they're going to be, you know, the next Alabama, or are they going to be like the Virginia Tech Hokies with Frank Beamer, right? They just going to win 10, 11 games every year and fall short, or are they going to be for real? So they have a lot to prove. They're almost the instant favorite to win the Big Ten. So, um, as generally I don't root for the conference if it doesn't have Michigan in it. I want to see every other program lose. Natty bowl game doesn't matter, but I kind of want to see the traditional long tenured Big Ten teams take out Oregon. I want to see these guys lose, put them down early, and don't let this fan base run wild. Okay, humble them early, humble them early. But Michigan's going to probably lose this game. I got them at 8-1 right now. So again, traveling to Bloomington to follow this up, they're going to be avenging the loss to the Ducks and beating the Hoosiers. Which leads us up to the final 2 games. Okay. November 23rd against the Northwestern Wildcats. Now, W. Okay, simple as that. Indiana W, Northwestern W. Let's just get right into the Ohio State game. Again, we previewed last week. We previewed Ohio State last week. So, you know where I stand on who's getting the L and who's getting the W on this one. I'm just going to read what I wrote down from the last episode. That way, you don't have to go back and listen to that one if you don't want to. Okay? Can OSU snap the streak? Connor Stallions or no Connor Stallions, Michigan has won this game the last 3 years solely on their run game and capitalizing on Buckeye miscues. And quite frankly, Ryan Day not being aggressive enough. I believe Chip Kelly is the X factor here. And while I think this is a very losable game, I think this is OSU close. If Michigan wins and the possibility of a rematch the following week happens, I believe OSU avenges itself. It's going to be very difficult for either one of these teams to beat the other twice, especially in back-to-back weeks, okay? So I'm giving the loss here to Michigan. And I'll try not to do, I'm not going to do another Connor Stallions rant. But Michigan has beaten this team 3 years in a row by emphasizing the trenches, winning the line of scrimmage, and capitalizing on Ohio State miscues, right? As I just said. Ohio State had a lot of the blunders in 2022. Michigan won in Columbus for the first time in a long time there because of it. Last year, you could see that Ohio State elevated its game kind of back to where it should have been in previous years, but Michigan was able to pull away late and grind them out. Michigan outside 2021, the run is held in check for really the most part for the first half, and that second half, they step up and make the plays. Michigan's offensive line is going to be pretty much completely new. And so that is going to be something to keep an eye on. There's never a guarantee in life. There's never a guarantee in football. You would hope that it's plug and play, reload type. And a lot of the offensive line that are going to be starting this year have a lot of game experience, whether it was in Northwestern for Josh Preby or Giovanni El-Hadi for Michigan, who's had several spot starts and a lot of rotational PT time. So going into the season, I think, and no knock against any of the guys in the quarterback room, but the what's holding back Michigan right now, and a lot of the faith is the quarterback play and how it's going to be. Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy level? Is it going to be Caden McNamara level? Is it going to be Wilton Speight level? Um, and there's no quarterback announced yet for week one. And again, to me, the obvious choice is Alex Orji. That threat with his legs, I think, is setting him apart, or at least in my mind, to be the number one starter. As much as I think Jack Tuttle is a great locker room guy and a great person, I just don't see him being a starter at Michigan. He couldn't win it in Indiana, and I know Michael Penix Jr. was there, blah blah blah. But after Penix was gone, they even went towards like something Devin McCauley or something. He still couldn't win it there either. So I really think it comes down to Davis Warren and Alex Orji. And again, this is an NFL season. It's going to be a deep year, and quite honestly, you're probably going to need both, if not three quarterbacks to get you through the year. And maybe they run a two quarterback system the entire time. Maybe Alex Orji continues to do his thing with the runs and design plays, and maybe Davis Warren or Jack Tuttle just is your Cade McNamara of 2021, and then when you get in the red zone, JJ McCarthy comes in. Could be that simple. Um, I personally want to get one signal caller in there. I'm up for whatever works, but I want one guy in there getting the workload, staying healthy, and winning games. So that really comes down to Michigan this year is where the quarterback play is at and where the defense is at. This defense is technically not as deep, quote unquote. It's just because they have a lot of guys that they need to step up and prove themselves. But what are facts? They have probably the best defensive back in the country in Will Johnson. They have probably the best defensive line in the country, especially up front there in the middle with Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. They got a beast in Jay Sean Barnett. Like their linebacker room is good. Their secondary is going to be good. And so really we're looking at kind of across that line to the offensive side. Who's going to be the starting rotation for the down guys? Who's going to be um, the leading receiver this year? So there's a lot of question marks. But again, this team is going to be good. And if this team rolled out a schedule that was similar to last year, I mean, this is a top five team regardless. But because with this schedule and when they play these teams, this is where we're at. That's why their over under is 8.5 via FanDuel, but my final prediction is 10-2. So realistically, I think the ceiling is 11-1. It's gonna be very difficult to go 12-1 with this team. Um, so I think 11-1 is the ceiling, and I'm putting the floor at like 9-3. Okay, Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State are going to be the games that are going to be you know very losable. If that makes any sense. You can probably make an argument for USC um, that in those four games, right, are going to make or break Michigan's season. Um, Real quick to a note, uh, Week 18 in the NFL last year added five quarterbacks alone to tie the record of 66 different quarterbacks starting in a game in a single season last year. So just in the NFL, 32 teams, right? 66 quarterbacks started a game in 2023. So, I mean, just look out for that this year in college football, okay? A lot of that has to do with injury. A lot of that has to do with playoff implications and trying to keep your main guys, off the IL, right? Or the IR. But that is just something we're going to see. NFL type seasons. And you got the college football playoff depth, all that stuff, right? So that is my take right there for your Wolverines. All right, 10-2, and 2 of those losses coming in Big Ten play for a 7-2 conference standing. So I think that's still good enough to get into the college football playoff. Wins over Texas and USC are going to be good at the time when they do it. And who knows if they can pull off one against Oregon or Ohio State, they'll be in a driver's seat. But I mean, hell, a road win over Washington will be pretty good. But I think a 10-2 record is at least top 12 worthy. So yeah, thank you for riding with me on this journey. We are at the end. Like I said, we'll be back next week for our first ever game preview for the 2024 season versus Fresno State. It's an exciting weekend. This coming up weekend as well. We got week 0, Florida State, the 10th ranked Seminoles are taking on Georgia Tech. And I believe there's like 3 or 4 non-top 25 games to follow. I think there's like 4 more on Saturday. And then there's a game on Sunday. I believe Hawaii. Oh boy. Hawaii and somebody else is playing on Sunday. But really, Florida State and Georgia Tech is like the big top dog game, and that's at Saturday at noon. So most of you guys will have fantasy football drafts this weekend. Football's back officially this week, in my opinion, because you have actually a regular season game, even though it's college. So it's exciting times. It's exciting times. This is probably one of the longer episodes preview-wise because, of course, this is why we do the podcast for Michigan. So, again, August 25th, last chance, to get in the giveaway. I got all hiccuping all of a sudden. JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum up for grabs. I will, again, find 2 random winners and find a home for these bad boys. All right? Go Blue. I will talk to you guys next week. Oh, and by the way, August 27th, I believe, don't forget, Sign Stealer comes out on Netflix, the documentary about Connor Stallions. I can't believe that comes out before the NOA is official as of this recording. Anyways, we'll talk about it when that comes out. Peace.